Tuesday, everybody. Core Conversations here. My name is Martin, and thank you for joining us. We're gonna have a good time today. We're gonna talk through some things. Once again, I have no guests. I have some fun guests later in this week, but for today, once again, we're doing our freestyle, which have been so much fun. I'm not gonna say more fun than having a guest, because on our fun days, our freestyle days, I had people like Jenna Zaffino yesterday. Who knows gonna show up today? It's gonna be a good time. So looking forward to that, and we're gonna have some fun. So thank you, Tanya, for joining us. Thank you to others. And let me get some of this stuff here. Core Conversation podcast. Like, subscribe, and share. Surfer Girl, what's going on? Send some messages, and we'll get this going shortly. So Tanya, how are you doing? How is business going? If you have any online classes or anything like that are going up, please put it in the chat to join us there. And we're gonna have some fun today. Let's wait for a few more people to show up, and then we'll get this going. Amazing. Tanya, I can't remember where you're located. Like, where are you from again? Like, where's your studio? And I have to say that I'm so excited about all the different people that we've met here on these Core Conversations from around the world. And I'm so excited about where people are going with their business, all the things that are happening, and all that we're learning here. I had a great, yes, Belgium, that's right. I had some great conversations with people, and I can give you a follow-up. I don't know if Jenna's gonna even show up today, but I'll just share it now because people will watch it in the replay. I was that much more intentional going to my classes yesterday with people. We were talking yesterday about how we interact with people and help them meet them at their point of need and all those things that help us as instructors. We were just talking through yesterday, like the conversation around how do we get men into Pilates? We're talking about. I love talking about that. Could talk about that all day. And and people say, well, they just have to feel it. When they come in, then they feel it, then they'll stick around. And then we unpack that question a little bit more to be like, well, how do you make them feel it? What do you do? What is your go-to exercises or script that helps people to have a positive experience? And that's where we spent a lot of our time yesterday in the conversation, was to say, okay, so the nuts and bolts of it, what actually do you do on your first interaction with people, that first date, to set up the second date? So that's kind of where we were talking yesterday around it. And so that was the conversation we're having. And it was fun to just hear people's perspectives, because everyone has a different way of looking at it. And then from there, we went into something that we were pretty comfortable with, something that we knew, and then went into a more uncomfortable conversation, not even uncomfortable, but unsure conversation around race and just the interactions and how we reconcile how we feel about people when we hear things that they've done throughout history, and they've done good things and bad things. So it was an interesting chat. If you get a chance to watch yesterday's conversation and how we navigated some tough topics, that's where I come to appreciate the friendships that we built through these core conversations that have gone beyond just interacting on the screen, to a direct message, to a text message, to a phone call. I can take a moment just to celebrate that, like that progression, because I think those are some of the interesting new pieces of the puzzle, or parts of the continuum of the relationship building process that we're in. Whereas before, it'd be like you meet them in person, become an acquaintance and a friend and whatever. Now it's like you would have a chat with someone on social media in the comment section, and the comment section turns into the direct messages, the DMs, and direct message turns into a WhatsApp turns into a phone call turns into a booking for an event. And now this friend has become business for you. So it's funny how these processes have evolved with social media in a sense. How many of you have found that there's that you've built friendships through our social media here? Give me a thumbs up if that's you, or if you want to share in the comment section someone that you cold met through social media, now they're actually a friend to you. It's interesting, so as I say that, I think about the relationships that we built here, and one of the things I'm most proud of in terms of the work that Core Conversations has done is when people meet and recognize that they can collaborate and work with someone, and then they work on a project together, those partnerships that are birthed out of connections that are made here. I think that is the best example of community building amongst our Pilates community when that sort of thing happens. So thank you to all of you who have the courage to connect with people to make that happen. I love that so much. Edeline, thank you for joining us. Where are you located? Betty Beth? And for those of you in the chat right now, if you have any online classes or workshops, things that are coming up, I'd love for you to just put it in the chat so we can just share that. I have a few that I do want to talk about as well. First of all, Misty Lynn. Excuse me. So Misty Lynn Cawthon is my co-host for tomorrow. And she has a workshop that's coming up called Detoxing Positivity. So that's happening next Tuesday, and please register for that. You'll see the link in her bio. I'm going to put it in the chat section here. So let's meet Misty Lynn. So that's her link there. So you hit that to follow her. And I think that's part 2 of a 3-part series that she's doing. So please check out her website. I think it's meetmistylynn.com right there as well. Let me put that in the chat as well. So meet. So that's one thing. What else? Yeah, I think that's the one I have right now. So yeah, so if anyone else has anything coming up, please put in the chat yesterday. So I want to just recap something that was said yesterday. And I'd love for her to hear from you on this as well. And as people are coming in, we can continue the conversation or maybe circle back to it. But there's a line that Jenna Zaffino said yesterday that I thought was interesting. We kind of glazed over it, but I want to spend some time to circle back to that. She was saying that, have you ever had a client who's just like, I just don't know what about it is about that Pilates thing, but I just have to keep coming back. I just don't know what it is about Pilates, but I like it. I just don't know what it is about Pilates, but something along those lines. You ever heard a client say that line? Well, one of the things that Jenna was saying with that is that, and I heard it this way too, is if they don't know, then I had to question, what was I teaching? Why don't they know? I think that we should be in a place of educating our people on what's happening in their body, what muscles are activating, what shapes they need to be in, where they should be feeling something. Because it's not like it's just doing a bicep curl where it's super clear in this concentrated move what's happening. There's so many things that are happening in the body in the process of some random Pilates move. The saw, rotation, flexion, extension. There's so many things that are happening. So when people say, I just don't know what's happening, it's like, let's do our best to communicate to them so they have an understanding and they have a vocabulary around what's happening in their body. Then they'll have a better sense of owning the exercises when they're not with you, working on it, practicing it, sharing it with others, and it just makes their job easier. They become our ambassadors at that point. They become referrals. Oh, I go to Pilates. What is Pilates? I don't know. I just feel good. That's good. But if they could say, well, it helps me extension, it's helping with my posture, I'm able to breathe better, all these different things, then you get a sense of it having a greater impact because they have a greater understanding in their own body that then they can convey to others. That's feeling it, but it's also educating on them on what's actually happening in their body. So I've been thinking about that because I like that line. I like the thought that was something that did resonate with me. Be able to give people words around what they're feeling in their body. feeling is good, giving them a vocabulary to what they feel, I think is better. What are your thoughts on that? Hey, Kara. So that sense of, I feel something, but I don't know what I feel, and giving them a vocabulary around it is something I think is interesting. We should always be in that process of educating our people on what they're doing, what's happening in your body, how it's working. Because, we can give them a good ab workout, or we can give them a good sense of education, what's happening in their body. Express Yourself, Black Man, what's going on? I just watched their live. If you get a chance to watch the live just happened a minute ago, bam. These guys just did a wonderful chat a few minutes ago, and I'm not sure if that's on your head. Give me a thumbs up if that's on your page for the replay, or which page, which of the three of you's page that would be on. Let's see, Case and the other person there. So I screenshot that because I think it's great work. I know you've been on a live for a long time, so I pleasure play. Okay, cool. But at some point, I'd love to have you on here. We talk all things self-care and health in that sense. And the title of the chat for today is Who is on your care team? And I'm hoping that my friend who put that on her page is able to join me a little bit later today. She's just getting out of a client, but we're talking about this because my background is in counseling, social work and stuff. So now I'm in the personal training world, in the Pilates world, in the movement world. I get it. And there's so many times that we as fitness people are a psychologist to our people, we're a counselor to them, we're referring them to people, all those different things. And I have that background, so I get it. So we would say in the social work world, like, who is in your circle of care? Who is your support team? And for our fitness people out there, I always ask you, what other health professionals are in your pocket? Do you have a chiro that you refer people to? Do you have a psychologist that you refer people to? Do you have an RMT or an osteo or a physiotherapist? Do you have those people on speed dial, so to speak, so that at any point you're like, I got a guy, I'll connect you with them? You have your care team that you have ready at your disposal for your people. That's one side of it. The other side of it is what I want to talk about today is who is your care team? Who do you have? Do you have those people in your corner ready? Whether it's a psychologist, someone that you can just like bounce stuff off to, whether you're meeting them weekly, counselor or therapist, or someone that you just touch base with when things are going off the rails a little bit. Your nutritionist, RMT, accountability buddies, like who is your care team? That's the question I want to ask you today. If you want to put it in the chat, you can, or if you want to just join me live on screen, you can just request to join. And let's have a conversation around that. You don't have to like disclose your whole business about what's going on in your world and stuff, but you could just say I have an osteo that I meet with every 6 weeks. I have a nutritionist that I consult with for myself as well as for my other people. Who's your therapist? Who's your business coach? Who's the person who is speaking life into your business? Who are your friends who just know what's going on in your personal life or your finances or your love life? Or do you have people that you can be vulnerable with that are holding you up? Who are those people in your world? Who is your care team? while I'm waiting for answers to come through, because obviously there's always a delay on that, I just want to share a quick story. I have a gentleman who used to be like a business coach for me, a colleague, and we'd play squash together and stuff, but he really took some time to really invest in me. And one of the lines that he said to me a long time ago that came up just recently is one I'm going to share with you right now. He said to me back in the day when I was building my business and as a personal trainer, he said to me, "You are not a personal trainer, you are a businessman, and your product happens to be fitness." And what he was saying there was, I'm spending time building this fitness business, but establish your fundamentals, establish who you are and what you do, because you may be selling mugs one day and you're gonna need the same principles. So it doesn't really matter what you're doing now, it just what happens to be fitness, but you're a businessman. So learn the principles and acumen that you need to be a good business person and take that into your fitness world. And that has been so key for me, because now as I've shifted from personal training to more Pilates and the Real Men Do Pilates and all those different things, I've taken those same principles to grow this business, and how do I leverage it, and how do I scale it out, all those things. But then I'm moving into campaigning for city council. As a businessman, I'm gonna have to use those same principles again and start learning from scratch how to build relationships and how to connect and how to ask for a vote instead of asking for a sale. All those principles remain the same. So I was in a meeting the other day and someone said to me, "Stop calling yourself a fitness person. People, in the global community aren't going to care that much about it. Like if you position yourself as more of a business person who has a Pilates studio, who does a podcast, who does those things, then that's more broad and people can connect with that a little bit more than saying I'm a fitness guy and then they're like, oh, I don't work out, I don't want to hear anything he has to say." It's kind of a weird thing to say, but in terms of my care team, I find that having people who are accountable to my business is very, very important, because they're another set of eyes. They're people who are really going to help you to look at what you're doing, how you can grow it, because you're so close to your business. You're working in your business more than you're working on your business. You're chasing that now money more than those things that are going to scale your business out so that you don't have to be in it. So for me, as important as having, I have a friend who's a nutritionist, I have colleagues here who are health practitioners, that person who keeps my business healthy is so key as well. Who is on your care team? That ties into another piece, but I want to just bring up, I want to hear what you all have to say. My podcast guest last week, Andrew Nicholson, was talking about this as well when he was talking about basketball and being a professional basketball player. He was saying it's just as much about accountability, what's your sleep like, what's your fuel like, who are you surrounding yourself with, as much as putting up shots. Like all these things tie into place, so that care team around you is so key. So we have hopefully Tasha is going to be joining us in the second half here. There's another piece to what Jen was saying the other day, and I'm just kind of rattling off some thoughts and reflections as I kind of hang out with you guys here today. Is our people who are here? She said we're here for our abs. We're here for life, not just for our abs. And that's the beauty of what we do with our Pilates work, right? So, custom cores and Love Movement Pilates. Thank you for joining me. Love Movement Pilates. I think were you here yesterday? Give me a thumbs up if you were here yesterday in the chat. I think it was you that had some comments about it. So what resonated with you? That's the thing I'd like to hear. You can just put it in the chat, or you can request to join me on screen. But just like chat and put it in the comment section if you like. Just something that connected with you from what all we were talking about. Because Jenna and I, we covered so many topics yesterday, and I felt it was so fruitful. Like, she'd be a great person if you're looking for a business coach, that accountability piece we were saying a minute ago. She would be a great person to connect with around coaching if she's into it. I don't even know. I'd ask her to coach me. Even if she doesn't have a coaching program, I would ask her to coach me if I was in that spot. So even with her podcast, I think about asking her stuff. I have asked her stuff about that in the past. Brilliant, brilliant lady. Sylvie Pilates. Sorry, just sending a message to somebody. Anyway, Pilates Pod. Michelle, good to see you. Alright, so Love Movement Pilates said, I'm a teacher. I'm in a teacher support series with her. I'd like to say that she's an example of someone I've become friends with through social too. Amazing. Nice. And she's part of my support team. So Michelle, the question, Pilates Pod, is who is part of your care team? And before we got into the care team piece, I was saying that I was just celebrating the relationships that have been built over social media. The person who you liked a comment, wrote a comment, sent them a DM, sent them a text message or WhatsApp or something. It's weird watching you, I feel like I'm stalking. Yeah, so that whole thing. I'd love to hear from you, actually, if you want to join me on screen, if you got a moment. I know it's like mid-afternoon there in the UK. But those relationships that come from like being a stranger to like a friend, you know what I mean? Like those are fun relationships I've seen blossom here. And then, so that was one part of it, those relationships piece. And the other part was that care team. Who are those who are supporting you? Like we've kind of figured out who we want to refer our people to, but who are actually supporting us? Who are our care team to keep us like sane and stable and grounded? I feel like I'm beating down this topic, but I think it's an important topic, so I'm going to keep it running. Unapologetically keep it running, just to hear from y'all. So, Love Movement Pilates, you said she's a part of your support team. What does that look like, just for people who are curious about what a support team would look like? Is there a cadence to how often you meet, things that you do, that sort of thing? And I'm going to bring it. Oh, decline. Sorry, let's try again. Okay, I'll invite you again.
Oh, hang on a minute. I'm wrong way round. That's better.
Hey,
I'm in my car.
I love it. I'm such a car guy. I'm so curious. What kind of car is that? I was trying to figure it out from the dashboard.
Oh, Could you do that? I'm going to test you.
Mhm.
Well, that's a car park, so you can guess all these if you're really into it.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. What can you do? Can he guess? What is it by the dash? This is such a weird
Oh,
game.
it is, right? That's a right-hand drive car too. Oh, it's a manual. You are my new best friend. Is that an Audi?
No.
He's uh
Oh,
ooh,
you
VW
get one more
family?
guess. No,
Okay, I'm lost.
it's French.
It's French. Citroen? Renault.
No, no,
French.
you're fired. Peugeot.
Peugeot. That's the only other option.
Peugeot, Peugeot. Well, that was an interesting game. I
Yes,
like that game.
it's pretty fun. My
Pilates and cars.
yes, I was gonna do. I want to do Plies and Porsches in the summer. I have a classic car. I have an
Oh,
'86 Porsche.
I can't help you with that one. I'm going to Peugeot, not a Porsche.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
then my friend recently
it's
just
an Alpine.
just uh, just got a Porsche for her birthday. She actually opened her eyes on her birthday, and her husband had bought her a Porsche, and it got a big bow on it. I was like, I thought that was just a thing you saw in a movie. I didn't think people did that.
There you
It's a
go.
real thing.
I would
Wow, a
weep.
Porsche.
I'd cry like a baby if that was my kid.
So whoever's in my care team, I need a Porsche.
There, let's put it out there.
Yeah, manifest it to the world. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know. So what are we talking about? You're talking about care team. Who's in your care
Yeah,
team?
yeah. I like that phrase, care team, like support team, circle. Like, what is the term we used? Circle of support? Circle of support. I think whatever the phrase is. So, for your clients, someone comes in, like you already have on speed dial, like your Cairo or like those people, right? So we have our referral based people. If it's good to have a referral base for your clients. But then
Yeah.
just taking it to our own personal lives, like, do we have a care team? Do we have, a psychologist or a counselor or a therapist? Do we have, a business coach? Do we have a personal trainer? Like, do you have a nutrition? Like, do you have a care team around you?
Yeah, I have I do my one-to-one every week with Rebecca from Kinetic Pilates. So since lockdown, I decided I'd go right back to basics again. So for the last, whatever that's been, 2.5 years, I've
Mhm.
taken my own practice right back to basics, and it's been really humbling to do so. Right back to the beginning, to find all the little quirks and tweaks and things that you picked up, and do the basic stuff again with experienced eyes.
Yeah.
So that's been really interesting. So she's definitely in my weekly kind of care team. My osteopath is on my speed dial button, literally on my button. So I have a maintenance maybe twice a year, 3 times a year.
Mhm.
But anytime I feel just a little bit different to how I should do, I'm there already.
Yes.
Um, and it's great because I just know that I can get something sorted quickly.
Mhm.
At Christmas time, just for Christmas, I went from having this funny little tiny tweaky thing. I couldn't get an osteopath for about 3 days, and that middle of that night, I woke up in the middle of the night almost paralyzed, couldn't move. Took me 2 hours to get from my bed to the floor. Absolute nightmare. I eventually got downstairs, standing against a wall, doing baby pre-Pilates wall ending,
Yes.
and it just helped me to move a bit and to see really how off I was.
Yeah.
And then the next day I managed to get to the osteopath, and then they're like on my speed button until I can kind of get fixed. Turned out to be just something strange from a different bed that I stayed in at Christmas time.
Mhm.
So they're on my care package team, and I have an acupuncturist that I'll see again on speed dial. If I can't get sorted, I think in the first go with the osteopath, I just have this weird analogy with acupuncture. I don't even know if this is the way it works, but in my brain, I think there's the problem, like a big hard nucleus of something. The
Yes.
needle goes into the bottom of it, stirs it up, and breaks it all up, and
Diffuses
the
it.
body can then deal with that.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're on my speed dial, and I don't have I don't have anybody.
Your cycling thing. Do you get a phone call coming through, I think? All right. We'll get her back in. Dropped her call altogether. Maybe her battery died. That's good. But yeah, so that was Pilates pause. So Michelle, I think she was talking about like acupuncturist, osteos, and those who kind of reset you in that way. The question I was going to ask her, if she pops back up, or for you who are just watching right now, excuse me, is the notion of mentors, right? And I've spoken to mentors quite a bit. And here's Tasha right now. So I'll bring Tasha on. If Michelle comes back, I'm going to bring her on as well. So Pilates Pod was just in here, Tasha, and then, oh, there she is. And she's dropped out. So let me get her back in first, and I'll bring Tasha on.
There you are.
Hey.
Don't you just love it when you're talking to yourself and then you realize no one's there, or maybe loads of people are there and they're just watching you? Like, yes. I'm not sure who's here now, just looking at me in my car. Weird. Yes. What was I saying?
You were saying, so the osteo and the acupuncturist and having that care team. So Tasha Edwards, Hip Healthy Chick, is the one who had that on her post. So that was kind of the trigger for this conversation around care team. So I'd love to bring her on as well if you got a minute.
Yeah.
For like a 3 minute. Okay, cool. And I have one question on that too, but let me bring her in.
Good morning.
Hello. This is like car Pilates conversations.
Yes. Good morning.
Hey.
Good morning. No.
Have you two met?
No.
Hey, Michelle. I'm talking.
Hi, I'm Michelle.
You.
Nice.
Yes.
No, this is the new thing. This is cool. Look how cool.
I love this. So Michelle, can you say where you are, and Tasha, say where you are as well, and we can we'll talk care teams after.
So I'm in Hitchin, Hertfordshire, in England. So just about north of London, basically.
In a gym parking lot in Huntsville, Alabama. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't stress. I was in the car park outside my work, about to go to my daughter's like dance recital, and having to have a coffee before I do that.
Yes. Yes.
I'm plucking up the courage to sit there. Cheers. This is fun.
So there you go. It's so funny. It's like people watching this, like, as superficial as it sounds, we're talking Pilates. I'm in a conversation, holding a coffee. You guys are in your cars. I love cars. Like, these are like, as like menial as they are, these are like some of my favorite things that I'm doing all at the same time right now. So,
but this is real life. This is me. I basically spend a lot of time in my car between things, like doing a little this, answering that, jumping on a quick call, running late to the next thing, and always with a coffee here. So this is real life. This is actual real stuff.
It is, and that type of fast-paced life is the reason why I require a team, or I require a care team. Honestly,
yeah, for sure. One of my friends is a life coach, and I often find myself in between running from here to there on speakerphone to her, just if I'm feeling a bit frazzled by life, just on her. She's a practical life coach, and what that kind of means is that, I don't really know how you explain this in any kind of professional way, but in my personal experience, it just means that she says all the right things and then she makes you do stuff. She makes you responsible and own something to actually do it. So she gives you good talk through and advice, but then she gives you like a takeaway and you have to do it. So that's the practical bit, and I like that. I like to be like, oh my goodness, I told Kate I'd do this. So actually a life coach has been quite useful. It's something I probably in the past would have maybe thought was maybe a little bit airy-fairy for me, but I'm actually liking her style of do this. When we get back next time, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And it's useful.
I was going to ask Tasha about that too, like in terms of your like therapist, counselor, person. It's like personal trainers, right? You're going to need to find someone that connects with you and resonates with you. So I'd love to hear what is her designation? What's her style?
Well, So
sort of
a
thing.
couple of things, because my therapist I had the same therapist for like 4 years or so. And I felt like my racial anger was part of the reason for the disconnect, because like she was going to call me for an from her.
Mm.
And so being out of therapy, because I realized I was actually very dependent on her, I had to think about who I needed for what phase of life I was in. And if I said something that was
Yes.
unconventional, not Christian, not whatever, was someone going to hear me? Because that's what good therapy is, you actually have it. And so I needed someone who would let me come in and just open fire. You know, like when I go to my therapist,
Yes.
I don't edit my words. I don't try to clean it up. I say it exactly how I feel it. And that container is what makes me feel safe. And if you feel like you're being judged by your therapist, you will never feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, you will never get to the opening that you need, you know? And honestly, it's the same way with
Yes.
all of my doctors. You know, most of my doctors, which is kind of funny, most of my doctors are people who were taking my classes and I didn't know they were doctors. And so there was already this, like my chiropractor used to take my bar class. My dietitian went to school with my husband, or my OBGYN, my old one, was taking yoga from me. Care, my Zumba. There's an amount, I think same thing as a therapist, like it's trust. If I'm coming to you and I don't want to be ashamed of what's going on with my body, like I don't understand, or I need to send me to a psychiatrist because something is wrong with me and I need to be medicated, I need to be tested. And for someone to get me to where I need to be, instead of trying to talk me out of the fact, pray me out of it, or tell me to go to the store, get some vitamin C and some sleep, and I'll be fine. I needed people who understand. You know, I mean, like the chiropractor is an athlete. When I go to her office and say, Dr. J, I need to be able to work in 2 days. She's like, not just she's like, okay, go get therapy. I'll take you up, because she's an athlete. And so she understands the specifics of it. And I think a good team, it is more than just someone's office you go into and pay a copay.
Right. Yeah. Michelle, I know you're en route to your daughter's thing, so I don't want to like hold you hostage on a live here. So if you need to bounce at any point, please feel free to. But or if you want to share, like I love having you. So just so you know, like if you need to go, like, just go like this.
I was just thinking, like it's just what you said, Tasha. It's having, I think, I mean, obviously everybody's different, but for me too, having somebody who will allow you to have that floor space to say all those things, because many times you can't say, you know, you are living in a filtered world around your children, around your clients, so you have to have an outlet to be able to say all those things. And then that's like having a big brain dump. You need to be able to just blurt it all out. Like you say, you do actually know the answer, but you need to blurt it all out first and then start to process and make sense. I feel like that when I go to the hairdressers, because I'm naturally blonde in my hair. When I go to hairdressers and I want red hair or black hair or pink hair or then go back to blonde, I don't actually care how they do it. I don't need to know the process. I just need to know, like you were saying, I need to be fixed in 2 days to get back to work. I just need to be blonde again. I need to be red again. I know it's a really like polar opposite of what you're talking about, but the truth is people, including us, for our clients too, they don't need to know how we do what we do. We don't need to know when we go to therapists how they do what they do. We just want the outcome. We want the journey, we want the process. We want to see something happen and a change, and you leave the professional to use their tools to do that. You don't have to need to know everything. The professional is there. They're trained. They're the professional to do what they need to do using any tool that they can to do that. And I like that space when you have somebody that you trust to work with, that you allow them to do their job because you trust that they will get you to what you need to be, and you allow them to do that. And we find that with clients. If you have good clients, they trust what you do. They don't need to necessarily ask, well, what should this be and how should that, and why is this, why is that? They just allow you to be, and out through comes the process and the results come through it. So I think all kind of care team people should are like that we enjoy working with. They give us that floor space to be. They're the professional, we're the professional when we deal with our clients, and we can just get the result without having to think about how.
Yeah. Pilates, that we believe, and I'm saying we, like general we, believe we know the client without bringing. Relationships are best co-created. So I need to know, even if I'm looking, I'm like, oh, her shoulder's a little high, oh, her hip. If the client's not coming to you because they want to work on their hip, we have to honor why a person comes in. Then we can decide at that point, just like a therapist. I'm the therapist for you. If I have a therapist who can't handle swear words, they're not the therapist for me, because I'm saying all of them. So, but it's co-creating, and that's how we feel safe, because we are a part. Now, I agree with you as far as if I put you on this bicep curl machine and you ask me the same question for like 6 months because you don't think I know what I'm doing, that's a different kind of feeling. But I want to know. I talk to my clients. So I'm a health and wellness coach. I talk to my clients coaching first, because I need to know who you are and where you're going or where you want to go, and try not to manipulate it, but to use, like you said, all of my tools to get you to where. And if you change your mind, I can either at that point pivot with the tools I have, or I can say, at this point in your journey, I think it would be best, here's XYZ. They're a specialty at where you say you want to go, because I have had the most trouble trying to hold on to people, and people have had the most trouble with me trying to hold on to me. If I tell you we're not working out well and I need to find another doctor, then to try to tell me otherwise or try to convince me makes me non-trusting. I don't know if that makes sense, but when there's a time to shift.
It's recognizing that, isn't it? Yeah, it's recognizing. I think that all relationships, regardless of what they are, obviously you can't get rid of your children, but otherwise most relationships, you have a choice in that relationship. And I find that with clients, I have actually fired 3 clients over doesn't sound too many, but fired 3 clients because I just could not make it work and wasn't prepared to be shouted at. That was a difference. But similarly, I've had clients that I felt they're not getting the best from me, and I could feel it. It was a struggle. And I've said, I think you might be better to be with this person.
Yes.
And it works, and it just works. And you need that's the co-creation. You need to have what matches. The magic is there sometimes with some people, other times it comes, but it has to work. And sometimes it's a process, but sometimes you have to know when to say, this isn't working for me. And then the struggle isn't so much of a struggle. Like if you had a relationship with a partner and it was always a struggle, you'd probably break up with them and have another relationship or not. The same in the people that you work with professionally and the people that you see in professional relationships. It's quite healthy, I think, to say to a client, I don't think I'm the right person for you. This person, I think, is good. And I think it's nice. I see clients now who haven't been the best match for me, and they're still in my studio and they're with another teacher. And I feel proud of that they're still there, but they're with somebody else. And they're enjoying themselves, I'm sure, better than we were trying to battle against each other. So why battle if your therapist isn't the right for you? Yeah.
And Michelle, to that point too, I find the other side to that is really guarding yourself. So it's one thing when you're in those relationships and determining how it's going to go next. And I'm thinking about a person who was referred to me just this week, And just talking with them over price and timing and stuff like that, I got a sense that it's not going to be a good fit, and it might be too much energy, and they're not going to see the value of it and all those things. So it's almost like I was like subconsciously making it difficult for them to sign up with me. And like, it's just like, I wasn't even aware of it. Like, I was actually like, I'm holding firm on price. I'm holding firm on this. And if that doesn't work, then I can refer someone else. That's it. Whereas there's times when I would be like, I really want to work with this person. I can really see how I can help them. I know that I can make a difference. So that I'm making all kinds of concessions that cost me more than
That's
what
growing
they're
in your
paying.
practice. You know, if I think 10 years ago in my 30s, and do I have a bill? I have a kid with track fees I need to do, and I would bend over backwards to make things work for clients that weren't going to stay. And so now, you know, or I would negotiate with people. And I had someone just a couple months ago, I mean, back and forth. I'm only going to spend so much time with this, like, back and forth. If we want to meet, let's meet face to face. But this constant, like, texting me, inboxing me, and you're not making any moves. And then she said, well, your prices are too expensive for me, and I'm not going to be able to train. I said, I'm sorry to hear that, and I wish you good luck on your journey. I hope you find someone that connects with you. And that was it. That's growth, you know. That's growth. And you know, you have an intuition. You know when somebody's just heavy on your spirit, and you're like, absolutely not. Just
Right. Thanks to Michelle for jumping in. I'm not sure if her call just dropped or she had to go, but all good. Yeah, I know. So it's so funny, right? Like, I mean, I was just battling. I won't say battling, but like, in a sense, battling with this lady, because like, you know, when people have like, it's just not value. It's a whole sense of just not having a sense of not appreciating the value of what we're offering, right? But I was gonna actually go somewhere else with that conversation around like the care team thing, and it's so funny at the same time. Oh yeah, no problem. Thanks, Michelle. So fit for the call, seize for greatness. Like, there's some guys that came into the room, and our experience is different when it comes to care teams and accountability and mentoring and stuff like that. So for you guys that are in the chat, I'd love to hear what your perspective is on this, because like, when you mentioned your doctors that you help and this and that, and like, I don't have any doctors. Like, I have, like, you know what I mean? Or I have, like, I don't have a lot of those things. So like, there's this sense of being stereotypical guy of thinking I don't really need all of these supports, that I have to challenge myself and find those, you know, reach out to and connect with, right? So
you don't think you need them until you get hurt, or until you're desperate. So like, I have had several. I've probably had 7 surgeries in a decade or something like that. And so I also want to make sure that I say that this is also part of the access issue. So, you know, if there are no chiropractors and physical therapists in your area, or if you're at a space where you don't have insurance, it is difficult to have a care team. And in that sense, I would say, not necessarily medical, but as far as therapy, I have a set of friends. I know who to call if I need to, like, I know who to call if I want somebody to pray for me. I know who to call if I want somebody to ride out with me. Like, oh, it's about to go down. I know who to call if I want to go out for tea. I know who to call if I want to go out for tequila. And and to be able to be honest in our space and make sure that our friend can handle the weight of what it is that we're going through. So it doesn't have to be a professional, but everybody needs someone that they can trust.
That's where we're going today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That comes back to like even that mentoring thing where I say, like, the person you look up to, the person you lock arms with, and the person that you're helping up. You know what I mean? Like, those people that you're looking up to, those people that can be mentors to you, and there's people that are at the same stage of life as you, or same situation as you, and there's people that you see are just about to walk right into what you've been through.
It's a continuous chain. And I think that once you get to a certain point, I think it is irresponsible to not reach back and help someone else. So there are people in Pilates that I admire and work with me, but I also have people in my circle who are, you know, PhD level professors at universities, or my friend this morning who has a multi-million-dollar company and is very smart about money, or the other one I text earlier who is a head engineer for NASA. You know, so I'm talking about my finances. I'm talking about money. I'm talking about as my children get older. You know, my friend already has a grown daughter, so I'm looking for her guidance on that as a
yes, the next
exactly.
stage,
And
the next
so
step
there
you're
are
moving
people,
into.
someone
Yeah.
who's just now having a son
Yes.
may reach out to you, or someone who has a blended family or anything like that. It is irresponsible. I just feel like it is irresponsible to not offer. I'm not saying you have to go out and look for people to make yourself feel good and say, I have all the answers and I should mentor you. I'm not saying that. But we're either going into something, in the middle of something, or coming out of something.
Thank you, Michelle.
Bye, Michelle. Yeah,
Right.
it's important.
But even that line, like, you know, I've been through that. I want to help you. I don't think anyone does that cold. I'd almost wish, like, I mean, do you know people that would like authentically do it? Not people who are just like cocky, like, I want to help you, and if you just pay $19.99 for the rest of your life, I'll help you type people. Like people like in your world,
I have had people who have reached out to help me because it made them feel good about themselves. Specifically, right, but specifically
that
in
doesn't count.
this racial reckoning kind of thing.
Oh, sorry. Let me just,
Okay.
Michelle just wants to jump back in to say one last thing apparently here. So, sorry guys, the connection has been kind of sketchy. That's why Michelle's been jumping in and out here, but we're bringing her back in one more time. Hi again.
Yeah, like we can
You see us, Michelle?
see you, but
Are you frozen?
Are we good?
Okay, I think we're good.
Kind of.
Ooh. Hey, Michelle. A little bit of a delay.
Maybe whatever she was going to say is going to be best written. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, people wanted to help, to be able to say, I help the Black people. I mean, let's just be honest. You know, there was a lot of that.
Come on now.
There are so many
true.
people that have never posted anywhere about anything that they've done for me. They're just like, I'm watching your work and I want to support you. I appreciate your message. And you have never seen it written anywhere. They have never asked for public shout outs or anything. And I find that now that's my job. I may not have what they have, but I have something to be able to say, hey, I'm watching what you're doing. And I really appreciate your work. I just want to support you in this way. What can I do? How can I, amplify you? Or is there something I can support? You know, because that's how we keep it going. This whole thinking that it's a pie, like if you get more, then I get less. And that's just not how it works. And the more we give, the more it's an abundance principle, you know? Like when I feel like I don't have to hold on to anything and I can give you some and you some and you some, it always returns back to me twofold all the time. So
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. I wonder if did it work again? You there?
Yeah.
And no audio.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you. There you are. Yes.
Okay, great. What I was going to say, we were talking about mentoring. When I first set up this Lucky Forum like 11 years ago, can you hear me? My dear friend, can you hear me?
Connect.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. When I first set up the Pilates Pod nearly 11 years ago, at the time there was a couple of London studios that I liked, and I hadn't really got a huge amount of clue how to run the whole studio. I'd been a studio manager for someone else for 8 years, but running it all yourself obviously is a whole different ballgame. So I actually just approached and asked the boss of the studio if he would be my mentor. And I didn't really want a mentor program out of it. I wasn't looking for a mentorship or a huge thing, like just advice. And I offered to take him for lunch and have a chat about things. And he just gave me his time. We had about a couple of hours. He just gave me a few really key tips that I use to this day. And several years later, we have the same conversation again, a fresh update on those tips. That was really useful. Mm-hmm. And to this day, I think, just ask. And I've had people over the years I've known as teachers come to the studio pretending to become a client or pretending to do this, that, and the other. And then I've seen them set up a studio and I think, I wish you just said to me, I really like what you do and I'm about to do the same sort of thing. Can I ask you a question, a favor, and whatever it might be? And obviously it's different if someone's setting up across the road in direct competition, but if they're just trying to gain some gleam of information, then I think it's brilliant, and it's so worth just having that moment to ask a little bit of advice and for you to give that. And I don't think this day I see lots of mentorship programs and asking for thousands of pounds for things, and obviously that might have a huge amount of time involved in it and it's a whole different thing. But mentoring can just be quick, easy tips and advice and giving somebody time and thought that you've done 10 years of your business and maybe they're starting out. What could be some quick wins for them, some useful tips, some things that might help them. And that I always hold this to my heart, having those two little moments of just not going one way, going another, and it was really, really invaluable and useful. So thank you to David Higgins, who helped me out many years ago.
I agree with that, and it can go another way. So like, I think now in business, so many terms are just like bastardized. Like we use them to find people's weaknesses so we can make money. So let me say that. But there was someone who was a higher up that I wanted to know. And someone said, honestly, you should just email her. And I wanted to ask her a question and ask her would she be willing to meet with me. And we have met every week for like 6 months. That it just turned into a relationship because I was willing to ask. Now, are people busy? Yes. Or somebody, can I take a call with you? Yes. And then it just organically evolves because I never thought that I would be in a position to be able to meet with her once a week. But we assume people are too busy, or we assume everyone's too catty, and everyone's not, and so it is just not being afraid to ask. It's almost a humility moment saying, you have something that I would like to learn, or you do what I feel like I want to do. Would you be willing to have a conversation with me? Can we go out to coffee? Exactly. Can we just share? And I find that more people than not are willing to talk to me. And it's only that little 10% that would rather sell me a program. So.
Yes.
And like I say, people are busy. So if you're clear about what it is that you want from the conversation, then you're not going to be necessarily holding somebody up for hours. So if you're clear about what you're trying to get from it, and it is flattering if you say to somebody, I like what you do. I like what you're about. I respect this thing that you've done or what, you've achieved. And could you point me in a similar direction? I think it's flattering to say that to somebody, and therefore, why would you not want to help somebody that's said that about you? So yeah, I'm going to jump off and let you guys talk, and I'll save the internet thing.
Bye, nice to meet you, Michelle.
Lovely to see you and lovely to meet you.
Good seeing you again. Thanks so much. Yeah, those are great points, right? And like, people will make time for you if they want to make time for you. But if you never ask, you don't know.
The thing is to not be offended. Like I did have someone who reached out to me, and she was very offended that I didn't have the time for her that she wanted. And it was just that space and time. Like I'm presenting once a month or traveling once a month between now and kingdom come at this point, on top of the fact that my youngest is about to graduate from high school. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. And I offered something else. Like, I'm also suspect. Like, if I don't know you and you just call me out of nowhere and say you want to meet me for coffee, sometimes I'm like, but I was like, hey, I'm in between, like I'm in my car right now. We can like jump on a Zoom or something. And
Yes.
I never heard from her again. And so it's like, don't be offended if people really are busy. But if someone offers you another option and you really want to talk to them, you know, be willing to kind of work. Yeah, it doesn't have to be
Take
all
the
or
option,
nothing.
man.
Maybe we chat by email or text until I have more time, you know. But you also have to know who's trying to,
Yes.
who there are people who want core conversations to be theirs. Not they want Martin to talk to them about having their own show. They want to know how Martin got all these people to watch him, and it's not authentic. But you know, like you were saying about that client, you know when somebody's trying to come for you and when someone is genuinely wanting your help.
Right. Maybe that's the athlete in me, or just that confidence that I've learned over the years from people I've had around me. But like, I feel like what is for me
Yeah,
is for me. Like, what is mine
agreed.
is mine, right? So that person, like, applies pod. Michelle was on a minute ago. If someone was to come in stealth mode and then learn everything about what I do and then hang a shingle 2 doors down, I still be confident that I'd still get my people, I still get my business. Like we said at the beginning, there's enough people on this planet that if you get yours, that doesn't mean
Yeah,
I'm no longer going to get mine. So there's nothing they can do. I see Trey Arts here. Like these guys have very unique businesses. If someone was to do the exact same business model, if someone to take my business plan and run with
no,
it,
because
it still
they're
wouldn't be
not
my
you.
business.
And I think it's important to say, don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, I have had someone literally
True.
come to my classes
That's true.
when
Yeah.
I was teaching Zumba, take my choreography, like take it enough where they could learn it,
Mm.
not only go do it, but actually go sell it. And I actually did have people come to my
Mm-hmm.
class and say, hey, can you not, I'm getting ready to teach. I have the mic. Can you teach so-and-so? Because I'm trying to learn that so I can teach it to my class. If you had just asked me, not when I was getting ready to teach and showed up to my class once every 3 years to try to learn if you had asked me, it would have been fine, you know? And so, but you think that you're going to get the same results that I got teaching. You're not me and I'm not you. And the way we deliver information
Right.
and services, people connect. The 100 is the 100.
Mm-hmm.
People
Right.
connect to who we are and how we do it, not what we do. I mean, a roll up is a
Yes.
roll up.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yep. Exactly. That's so funny. Yeah. Look, yeah. So that's gonna happen. People who what's that saying? I think someone did that to me once. They came and someone said, like, this person is doing this and they're copying everything you do.
high
And it's
form
like
of flattery. Yeah,
imitation is the
for
highest
sure.
form of flattery.
And it happens all the time. And honestly, it used to make me angry. It used to make me angry. I'm like, basically, you just
Mhm.
spent, you had to have spent a day in your life trying to look at everything I did and replicate it. But here's the thing. People will also know when that's not authentic. Like, you can look at a model and say, I like this, I like this. But
They'll
if you
sniff it
think
out.
you just copy and paste, then there is some like soul searching or something that you need to ask yourself why you're in this to begin with. Like, how did you get
Yes.
10,000 followers? I was like, well, I got pissed off one day. Then I showed up as myself. And then people who were hearing me say my truth wanted to share with their friends. Like, I didn't buy followers. I honestly don't know how it happened. There were people who were rooting for me that I didn't even know because I wasn't paying attention to it. It's the same way where people would
Right.
come and talk to you. Of course, I want to be on Core Conversations. And then someone who's watching you would go and ask the same person, and they would be like, well, I'm kind of booked up because
Yeah.
it's different.
Right.
It's just, yeah. And everybody has to take
It's
that
different.
time to
Mhm.
find themselves and how that relates to how they want to show up and what they are pursuing.
Yes. For sure. And it's funny that the core conversations that made me think about, this, there's people that I asked to be on a year ago that declined, that now see that I'm still here, and now they're asking to be on. And for them, it was just one, is this a flash in the pan? Do I trust him? What is he saying? What is he going to make me look like? All those things. Those are all valid questions. So some people can just walk in blindly because of who they are and just be themselves. And other people need to get a full script and want to find out every question I'm going to ask and want to make sure that they can control the narrative out of their own self-conscious fear of how they're going
And there's
to present.
also, the Mike Jones syndrome. I say back then they didn't want me, now I'm hot, they're all on me. And that happens too. We want what's hot. So we're kind of, there are people that would never give me an opportunity, no matter how much I asked or showed my skill set. Oh, you saw me on XYZ? Now I can't get rid of them. Would you want to do this? Would you want to do that? And it's almost like, if someone else believes in you, then I'll take a chance on you. But all of us need that one person, at least, that's willing to say, I'm going to take a chance on what it is that you're doing. Let's just do it and see what happens. And I think that's what opens the door. And it's also how we kind of filter the people who aren't authentic, because they are the people who come back out of nowhere now that they see that you've been successful.
Yes.
Now they're like, oh, yeah.
Or consistent. Not
Yeah.
necessarily successful, consistent alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I think the other side to that too, and I got to get going here soon, but like one of the things that I realized too is that we are at a place, and many of you in the chat are at a place where we are in a position where we're endorsing people as well. So we're not just the one who are asking and people are asking us, but we're also the ones who have the say or are just enough clout that we can endorse someone else. So when I say Seed for Greatness is doing a live, you got to jump on afterwards, that they'll jump on because I said it. And I don't feel like I'm that big, but there's just enough credibility because of the consistency of what we've been doing. That is enough to endorse the next
it's really
person.
not even how big you are. It is, and it's not just consistency, but it's right. People feel safe, people feel informed, and so there are people with 100,000 followers, and I would never participate with anything ever in life with them, because it's not just numbers. I want to know that when I show up in space with you, that you're going to honor what I do, and I'm going to honor what you do, and that's important. And when people see that, that's what they gravitate. That's what they gravitate towards. Yeah, numbers don't pay bills.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's true. I had a great conversation with Jenna Zaffino yesterday, and it was that same thing, right? Like where we just continue to, trust one another. Like, you know what I mean? Like that is it. So we have this authentic, unscripted, unplanned conversation, and and both of our audiences see that, and it's like, I need to follow her. I can hang off of every word that Jenna says. Yeah. She's super smart, and then she was here. Or they hear something that I say from Jenna's crowd, and then they're like, okay, I need to follow that guy because that's really cool. He's saying the same thing that Jenna says, so that happens too, right? So we collectively grow,
and it's amplifying each other. So, again, like I don't lose anything by saying I'm jumping on with Martin today. Anybody who knows me know it's more likely that I forget to post than it is than me amplifying someone, or being able to help someone even online or offline, but that's what it comes down to. We have to support each other because none of us are getting out of here alive. You know what I mean? So that's how we grow and change the landscape of the things that we say we have a problem with.
Yeah, I'd love to unpack some more of the offline stuff too at some point. And we didn't even talk about Black History Month nor about movement stuff. So I have some time tomorrow.
We have to jump on.
Actually,
I don't know. I may be hanging out tomorrow. with you and you want to talk about Black history, then we'll talk about it.
All right.
But yeah, but it's definitely worth
Nice.
talking about for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. We're gonna have some fun. All right, party people. Thank you so much, Sasha. Thanks for jumping in. As always, I just love every planned or
Absolutely.
unplanned chat that
It's
we
helpful
have.
for
So it's
me
so
too.
good.
Food for the soul.
Yes. Yes. Follow Pilates Pod too. Like, she has a great support group. She didn't even mention anything about her Facebook stuff that she does. She has some amazing support groups for women, and she does so much. She does really so much. So the Pilates Pod. Follow her, connect with her afterwards.
Awesome.
She's a great resource.
All right. I'll check in with you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining us today, and we are out.